Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Did you enjoy the screening? Yeah. My name is Diane Gordon. I'm a freelance event and television reporter here in Los Angeles, and I'm really pleased to be here with the You, Me, Her people. Really great direct TV. Do we call it a dramedy or a comedy? You decide. We have, first, the creator and showrunner, John Scott Shepherd. Priscilla Faia. Melanie Papalia. And Greg Poehler. Hi, everyone. John, let's start with you.
Okay.
What inspired the show? And when you were casting these three main roles for, what were the qualities you were looking for in your actors?
Well, I hit a point where I was sensing something in the culture and the zeitgeist that felt like alternative relationships and the whole menu of how people could live as adults, sexually, emotionally, and romantically, was getting bigger. And I was interested in pursuing that. But what really intrigued me was the idea of doing it from the point of view that I could relate to as a writer and as a viewer, really. Like, what would it be like if it were me? Like we all do as writers and actors. It's like, what if it were me? And I thought, like, can I bring this out of the 74th floor of some, penthouse and bring it down to Main Street? And what would it look like if it were real people that I knew living that life?
Is that why you chose Portland? I'm just curious.
No. It could have been any city USA. It's really not city-centric. It's not location-centric.
Yeah, but you love Portland.
I do love Portland. I have kind of a Portland fetish. It's like California's Maine, I call it. And I had a Maine fetish prior to that when I lived in Cleveland and other places. But yeah, I just wondered what that would look like, the idea of exploring alternative relationships and extramarital and that whole world from a very, like, Main Street, like, accessible, relatable level. Like, how could that happen? And what would it look like? And what would it feel like in my life? Because I can write that. I know how to write that when I can see and feel and sort of method write it.
And as you were casting these roles, what were the most important qualities?
Well, they were all my second picks, obviously.
Sex appeal, I think, was
Especially
number one,
Greg.
right? Sex appeal is what I heard was number one.
Yes. Sex
No,
appeal.
what I was looking for was people who felt, I never said to myself, like, aesthetically what they looked like, because that really wasn't, I don't like shows that cast either self-consciously normal or self-consciously beautiful. I think that that's the wrong way to cast. What I wanted to cast is people who felt real and felt in the moment and felt like I could see them in the real world. So, I cast them in very, very different ways. With Rachel, I already knew her. With Rachel Blanchard, who's not here with us tonight, I already knew her, and I knew she was perfect for the role. With Greg, it's someone that I had watched and admired on some Sweden show or something, and I'm just trying to help you.
You were being nice there.
I was being nice because I named the right country, and I found him really accessible, and it's weird because Greg is like, legitimately, like, if he lived in your neighborhood, he's really handsome, but in real life, like, when you know him, he's just a guy. That was a compliment. Think about it. Dissect what I said. Work it down. Rock it out. You will feel good about yourself when you watch this whole thing back.
Take the shovel.
Wait, who's going to feel good about
Okay,
themselves? They'll feel better about themselves, or I'll be feel better about myself?
Greg will be doing point counterpoint later
about him. So I got to talk to him on the phone and meet him in person, and I just thought he's definitely my Jack. Okay. And then it was really, really hard. I thought Izzy was the fulcrum character. She was almost in a weird way, the most important and the hardest to cast. And we worked really, really, really hard on casting that character. And we never did get it right, obviously. And
Yeah, wow.
I try.
Zingers.
no, but I met her literally. I cast her in a bar in Vancouver, and
That sounds weird. Yeah,
I
that
just
you
thought
might
it sounded
want
weird.
to rephrase
But it's
that.
like you know something when you know it. When you meet someone in mostly in a bar.
I auditioned, first of all. I would like to make that clear.
Later. You
No,
auditioned.
you guys watched the tape
Well,
first.
we watched the tape, but that was like the least of it. But I got to meet her, and she was so cool, and so Izzy. She was so naturally Izzy. I felt like the real casting happened in the bar, not on what I watched on tape. I felt like the person I met was just so like natural and so Izzy. It's just the person in your head when you're writing someone. And so it was like over. It was done. Like, so all that work we'd done, all those people we'd seen, you meet a girl and you meet her in a bar and you talk to her and you go, boom, that's it.
Okay. Greg, I have to ask you
Yes.
about Jack. Jack
Well, I
seems
think he's
to-
more handsome than he's letting on, by the way.
That's fair.
I'm sorry. I just had to add that. Yeah.
Jack is very malleable. He's very sort of, I don't want to say wishy-washy, just malleable. And he sort of adjusts to situations as he finds them. Do you think of that as a positive or a negative about him?
That's a great question. I think of it as a negative, just because I'm not that way. But I'm playing him, I'm playing that aspect of him as a positive in this role, if that makes sense, what I just said. Feels kind of convoluted. I think he means well at all times. And that's how I play him. Everything he does, he really has the best of intentions. When whatever he's diving into, he really means well and the best, and he's hoping for the best possible outcome, and he's trying very hard at whatever he's doing, whether it be relationship-wise or to be cool or to fight for the three-party relationship or for his wife. He's a really fun guy to get to know, I think.
I was really shocked when he quit his job at the end of season 1. I have to say, that was one that I just did not see that coming. And I'm still, like, when I watched the first episode of season 2, I was just like, this is a guy without a rudder. And I have to think that makes him a lot more interesting to play.
Yeah, totally. I mean, his whole life has been really shaken to its core. Now, as we're starting season 2, I think he's kind of reevaluating who he is and what life is and what relationships are, and I think that's the key of the show as well. Those are the main questions the show is trying to look at and resolve.
Okay.
I like to think I know my audience, and I don't listen to actors much. That was a joke, because I know who you are. No, but we got to talk a lot about the way that life leads you, and he had a lot to say, Greg did, about following a certain path that seems laid out for you. And he talked more and more to me about, the character being someone who had led a life that was laid out for him. And I changed my writing for that. He said, I think I'm someone who feels this very, very deeply, that my life is sort of like, drawn for me, and I want it to be a moment where I go, fuck this. I'm going to take a different turn. I'm going to do something crazy, which obviously he later says was sort of randomly crazy or maybe capricious, one of my favorite words. And and he eventually looks back on it, and maybe it wasn't the right move, and yet it's important to him that he does make a decision that isn't laid out for him. And that a lot of that came from Greg.
You also made a really calculated decision when you had Emma have this big job at the same school where he was about to become the dean. And so I assume some of this fallout's going to affect her as well.
Yeah.
In season 2, if you want to tease some of that.
Yeah. I mean, season 2 becomes a lot about Emma's canvas getting bigger, to be honest with you. Her professional and creative canvas gets bigger. Her opportunities get, more attuned to who she is and what she's capable of. And that changes everything she sees about her life. And she starts looking at everything, all the choices she's made, as she says, reproductively, sexually, creatively, professionally, everything that's happened has made her look at her life differently. And so that's why we like to think that our show may have a hook about three people, but it really is about adult life and adult relationships and adult choices.
Well, and what's becoming apparent is that among the threesome, they're each fulfilling needs for each other that, I think that they didn't know about before they met. They all started to interact with each other. So Priscilla, Izzy, in season 1, she seemed to be battling a lot of demons that she seemed to have inherited from her mom. Are we going to meet her mom in season 2? I have to ask.
That smile means yes, doesn't
Okay.
it?
Oh, no spoilers
And
then.
he's silent, which is never happens. So it's definitely going to happen.
So what was it like for you to tackle? I mean, that's a difficult thing to play. And also, I liked how your friendship with Nina, I wasn't sure if you were codependent or if you were more like sisters, or can you guys talk a little bit about
Coda
that?
for sure.
Yeah.
Coda for sure. It's always exciting for me to play people who are a little bit of a mess. All the stuff that's going on is very subconscious. She comes from a family who was broken, or her parents divorced, and I think that those wounds have stayed with her. And so getting involved in something like a marriage where there's only a certain amount that she can commit to that, because they're already a couple, right? So she's able to come in and out of that, which serves her, she gets the validation, she feels good about herself. But as any relationship does, the more you spend time with people, the feelings become deeper, and so things get complicated. And it was really fun to play her navigating through that.
I think what you did really well is you were showing her need, her emotional need, really well.
Thanks. Yeah, it's written in the script, but it's also it's necessary. I think it's necessary to watch somebody crumble and really want something, because then it's not relatable. It's not if it's surface. And I think that she's held her wanting for something real back for a long time because it was scary. And she's finding something that makes her really happy that was very far from what she ever thought she wanted. And that was one of my favorite things. And my relationship with Melanie, Nina, and Izzy, it's the bad relationship you have, the bad boyfriend or girlfriend.
Well, not all bad, but
it's, do you know what I mean? That it's so fulfilling, but it's also
I think we just know each other so well, Nina and Izzy, so that we know.
That's why I thought you're almost like sisters.
We are sisters. I feel like, for Nina, Izzy really is the most important person in her life. I don't think a man could ever take that place, and vice versa.
Right, and so season 2, you see a huge shift in their relationship because there's a lot going on in Izzy's life, and in season 1, you see her always being able to go to Nina to be like, oh, this is, there's a little bit of narcissism there, subconsciously, obviously. But Nina's got things going on in her life as well. There's some changes going on, and so Izzy also has to navigate through that.
And I want to ask you this, Priscilla. You don't get to answer this. Do you think Izzy's in love with Emma?
Totally. I think she's in love with both of them.
Both of them?
Yeah.
More Jack, I would say. I would, if I could interject here, I think
she's in love with Nina too.
I think more Jack. I mean, if we're gonna,
there's a lot of love. There's a lot of love
going
going
to be a
around.
pie chart. I would say it's 95% Jack, 2% Nina.
Oh, please, have you seen us together? It's dynamite.
No, I don't watch those scenes.
Okay, so among the actors, the other thing about this show is that, it is about a subject and there's, a lot of sex involved. Who's the biggest prude?
On set or off?
John?
I would have to
I'm
say.
just kidding.
No, I would say on set. I would say on set. Since you're asked to.
I don't think anyone would be
think
able
they'll
to.
be prudes.
I don't think there is any
Everyone's
prudes,
always
yeah.
been game. They really are. I mean, everyone has their limits, and we're all very respectful of them. But I think we're kind of a team. We become sort of a family, and we just talk about it.
Yeah, and also, the show it's not about sex. It's about relationships and connection, right? So that when there are sex scenes, it's just a matter of expression of what's going on in their life. And I think that's what makes the show surprising, is that there's a common misconception when you see a show about one guy and two girls, you kind of go, oh, okay, like you make, no, I'm just saying
and it doesn't go in that salacious direction at all.
So when it comes to the sex scenes, like John said, it's like a team thing. And I think that for you too, with your stuff, we're all at this point, very respectful of one another. And it's.
As you can tell by her answer, Priscilla is the biggest prude.
Just ignore him.
Well, the other thing that the show.
I'm definitely the most naked.
100%.
Yeah,
it's shocking.
As far as on-set
that's
stuff
true
goes,
this year, but-
I'm the most naked by
I don't have to say
Dennis
any of
Esmer's
that.
the most naked this year.
Yeah, he is actually. He is. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yes, not by.
He's very funny.
Not by
He
choice.
is.
very
He's
funny.
hilarious. And season 2, you see, John wrote. We get to explore our supporting character stories much more, and that's really exciting because we have an amazing supporting cast.
Do you get to kill the nosy neighbors?
No, we actually embrace the nosy neighbors.
No murder. Yeah.
We murder them.
It gets naked.
No, it was really fun. Season 1 was sort of a discovery of what we had. And, when you start pushing out into the rest of your cast and appreciating all their abilities, you realize all the possible, interrelated storylines. And season 2 is starting to explore that. And season 3 will go even further into that.
I feel like in season 2, every character gets shaken. The characters that were so solid, everyone's shaken. There's an obstacle put in every character's way this season.
One of the things that really surprised me in season 1 was, this is definitely a subject that not everybody's comfortable with, but hey, it's 2017, and this still challenges some societal norms and sexual norms. So, but I feel like, maybe it's because I've lived in California for too long, but I feel like, why worry about the neighbors? And that's kind of where
Totally.
I admired Izzy, where she was like, F the neighbors, who cares?
That's my favorite thing about her. She's like, just do it now and think about it later.
I vacillated on Izzy. Part of me is like, yeah, and then part of me is, it's her stupid 20s. This could be dangerous.
True. Totally.
All that's true. All that's
all
true.
of it is true.
She always says she's a lean-in character. She's a say-yes character. That's what Priscilla says about her own character. And, the reality is that, yes, when she says, are you afraid? There's a scene in season 1. She says, what, are you afraid of doing this? And Rachel's character says, fuck yes, we're afraid. Because they should be. I've lived in North Carolina, Kansas City, Cleveland. I've lived in all these normal cities. And I can tell you, in the real world, if you put a third person in a home and you live there permanently and admit that you're sleeping together, it's going to be a bit of an issue. You can't play that forever. At some point, it either works or it doesn't. You can't keep that conflict being your primary conflict in story.
And one of the other recurring beats was that Jack and Emma want to have a baby. Now, does that carry over into season 2?
Yeah, look, this is adult life, and this is a married couple that are, closer to 40 than 30, and, they're at a point where they have to decide, and Jack wants to have a family. He wants to have multiple children. As he says, I don't want to raise my last kid playing basketball in the driveway and break my hip. So this is something that he really wants. So it's an issue, and all of them are discussing the idea of fertility and having kids will continue to be a very serious part of the show, for sure.
And as I'm looking at the promo shot there, Greg, what was your first thought when you posed for that promo shot?
Well, my first thought, I was extremely happy because I was very hungover during this shoot, so I was super happy that we...
He's not joking.
I'm not joking.
Because it was a
So
Tuesday.
that we were in a bed, and I got to sleep for the first hour. That's my hungover look. In case you guys want to see it. No, I think that it's trying to show. I think Jack's arc of season 2 in that he starts to feel like he's the odd man out and starts to feel like perhaps he's the third wheel in this relationship, and that the women have a connection that he didn't expect and that it scares him. And I think, as Priscilla was saying, intuitively, when you think of the show, you think of it as, a guy with 2 girls. A lot of people, and I get a lot of pats on the back for people who haven't seen the show necessarily. I'd say like, wow, good work, man.
Good gig.
Yeah, good gig. Tough life. So I think, on its face, you think of the show as being something that really is stroking the male ego in that sense. But season 2 and I think the entire show is really almost an emasculating experience for Jack. It does the opposite, because when you see your wife with another woman and she seems to be getting everything she needs and desires from her, you begin to question whether you're even necessary in that relationship. And I don't know if that's common to polyamorous relationships, but I think anytime you have 3 people doing anything, there's going to be one person perhaps at times that feels a little bit left out, and that's certainly what that picture is trying to convey.
I would just add one little thing, is to say that while I think that poster is sort of a hint at the season, it is not the season. It is a suggestion on a more, broad basis. The idea that polyamory is hard, and the idea of 3 is difficult, and that someone is always going to feel slightly left out or on the outside. And throughout the season, it's very dynamic. This is not the story of Jack being left out. It's much more than that.
Well, I would imagine it's fluid because you've got 3 people you're working with, but you also did a great note. I think it was pretty early on, or middle of season 1, where they went on where Izzy and Emma went on, I guess, their first date. And when Emma got home, Jack wanted to make love, and Emma was too tired, and you felt really bad for Jack. So
I did as well.
Well done, Greg.
Thank you.
You've seen both.
Yes. I never did get my date from season 1, by the way.
He still talks about
Keep
that.
bringing that up.
And Melanie, in season 2, can you talk a little more about what Nina's up to? Because in season 1, you were just kind of goofing around with her ex-boyfriend. I don't even know if he was really her boyfriend, but
yeah,
kinda?
I don't know if we can say that he was her boyfriend, but they were.
I called him her sort of boyfriend.
But they were hanging out. It was sort of the no-go zone, But
The Izzy, I'm too scared to commit to somebody, so you just sit tight.
Yeah,
kind of guy.
exactly. But I think
Placeholder guy.
I think Nina knows that about her. She knows her so well, and also too that whole struggle with the getting into the relationship with Jack and Emma in the first season. She saw the struggle and she knew how in love with them that she was. So I think Nina was just like, oh fuck, I mean, this is really happening. But in the second season, Nina's life gets completely shaken up. She's so, in the first season, she's so closed off. I'm not going to deal with my own problems. And if Izzy's all screwed up and has her own problems, that's great because that gives me something to do. I'm just going to fix her and tell her, what she's doing is stupid and be her mother almost. But in the second season, Andy and Nina sort of somehow kind of fumble into a little get together, and I think she realizes that this could be something real for her. She's felt something that she hasn't felt almost ever, and it's really scary for her, and you almost see her crumbling through the second season. She's not the confident the confident Nina that you knew from the first season, who just had funny remarks. She's a lot more sensitive, and she almost needs Izzy. She needs Izzy to tell her what to do and help her, just the way that Izzy needed her in the first season. So we definitely have a different dynamic in this season because of the threesome, and I think that Nina sees this as something that's really real for her. But because Nina's going through her own stuff, it's almost easier for her to accept.
Okay. And for the actors, what have each of you learned from this gig that you didn't know before?
For me, the fascinating thing is just to be learning more about the polyamory community. I knew nothing about it at all, to be honest, going into it. I just got the script. I actually got the script like 2 days after Welcome to Sweden got canceled. So I had a brief period where I was very depressed, wondering if my acting career had ended or whether it was just starting. And when I got the script, it was just an amazing script that John sent over, and I was so hopeful that I could be Jack. And so since then, it's been kind of a whirlwind and a really great experience to be working with everyone. But as far as the polyamory community goes, I'm surprised by how many of them there are out there, to be honest, or maybe out here. Since the show came out, there's been so many people coming up to us, just personally and also, on social media, talking about their experiences. And it's both encouraging and also a bit frightening, because we're not necessarily trying to be representative of that community or portray the community.
You're telling one story.
We're telling one story, exactly.
But still, you become sort of just naturally inclined and drawn into it, and you're curious, and the idea of permanent polyamory, the idea of that you could make a relationship or a marriage of three people work as a family, maybe even with children, and it's happening. I mean, there are Facebook pages and web pages and support groups and people who are making choices that are about three people instead of two, or four people instead of two.
Was that part of your research for the show?
Yeah, but now, I mean, like the further we go into the idea of anything becoming permanent, the more fascinating it becomes. And the idea that people actually are making it work. And the idea that the menu, again, is bigger than people think it is, that it is possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I didn't mean to, ladies, what have your biggest takeaways been from this gig?
Oh, no, you.
Well, I mean, what Greg was saying, it's been really exciting to be a part of a show that is representing a community that isn't widely spoken about yet. It's just, it's nice to explore the polyamory concept as our characters are exploring it.
How have your fan interactions been?
Amazing.
Okay.
Really amazing.
No weird
No.
stuff? Okay, good.
No. I mean, sure.
People can
They
be
have a
weird.
video with 3.5 million hits, so
there's been
there's that.
Of course, there's gonna be a drunk somebody who's like, hey, it was, but it's like life. But in general, it's more of it's support. There's a lot of support, which has been really exciting for us, I think, on a whole. Yeah. And from an actor's perspective, the craziest thing about this show is how we shoot this show. And we shoot the show in 7 weeks. We cross board. So in one day we're shooting.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, we're shooting scenes from 4 different episodes. It's insane. And it's without the team that we have, without the support from all the way from our executives down to our crew, like we need each other. And a really important piece is we have one director who does one season. So we have the solidarity through the whole season, which is really important.
My last question is, did you consciously want to do it like a film? Because a lot of the episodes in season 1, the episodes would they'd begin right where the last one left off.
Yeah, I mean, my history, I started as an author and then a feature writer, and so my idea of looking at a season like this, I don't look at them as individual episodes, I look at it as a book. And so that's just natural for me. So to find a partner, a director who wants to do the same kind of thing, that's exciting. And when you find that's why we chose a feature director in Sarah St. Ange, who's talented and intuitive and creative, and also a writer herself, and amazing and a great partner. So who can look at it like that. We can view the whole thing as a movie or a book, and shoot it like that. And it is difficult, and the actors are amazing, and the way they step up and deal with the differences from scene to scene. We do our best to kind of go, like, let's shoot semi-chronologically and semi-location-wise
right.
also. And the whole thing, the other thing that helps is that Our seasons tend to be flashpoints, we call them. There may be jumps between seasons, not so far, but there will be. But they're flashpoints. The seasons don't last over a couple weeks. So the idea of getting lost in where your character is over months, I think it helps that we're talking about 2 weeks.
Got it.
Yeah.
The first season, we had a rule of no sides on set, which I feel like we kind of brought into the second season as well. That it's so dialogue heavy, so that was really, really daunting because you're filming.
It made everyone bring it.
It did. It made everyone bring it. I mean, there are days when you have 7 scenes of very heavy dialogue, and it was nerve-wracking to show up thinking, okay, I mean, you know, if you needed the sides, you could look at the sides, but that was sort of the overall rule of know your stuff. And that was great because in the second season, everyone just showed up knowing their stuff. And I think as actors, going into a scene with someone, you really know your actor is prepared to bring it.
Well, yeah, because you can't find the gold. You can't you can't play if someone isn't prepared, right? So it was really it really helped for sure.
The things these guys did on Oneers, I mean, we came into this season, they'd been through it once, which is hard. But they came into a second season, and the preparation they brought into when we tried to do Oneers and do a complete master shot was phenomenal. To me, sometimes I was sitting at the monitors, and I was going, I can't believe they just nailed that in one take. I was blown away constantly.
I want to do season 3 in all one take, if it's possible. Can I suggest that?
Good luck with that.
Duly noted. Well, you all make it look very natural and very easy. And thanks so much for taking the time to be here tonight.
Thank you guys so much.
You meet her.